Hey everyone, welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown from the NFL Combine here at Indianapolis. Matthew Peterson sharing some of the trade rumors out there involving Denver and just some overall news, nuggets, and notes from Indianapolis, kind of what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. But first and foremost, happy to be back at the Combine after a bit of a rough first 24 hours, which we talked about on yesterday's show. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to check that out. But let's talk about a trade rumor that I saw kind of come across a little bit, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers having interest in Courtland Sutton. Jarrett Bailey, who is a Steelers beat reporter, put out that he is hearing that the Steelers have a good amount of interest in Courtland Sutton and want to make a move towards acquiring the Broncos star wide receiver. My initial reaction to this is, I don't think it's blasphemy. I don't think it's like a made-up thing. I don't think it has a great chance of happening, though. I don't see why the Broncos would decide, you know what, after Bo Nix's really strong rookie campaign, we can't wait to trade away the number one receiver he was working with. So to me, I don't think this has a ton of legs to it, but the Steelers, it looks like, are aiming to bring back one of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. And if it is Russell Wilson, then pairing him with Sutton would make a lot of sense since the two had a good connection during their overlap in Denver. But I would not be a big believer of a Sutton to Steelers trade happening anytime soon or really ever. The Broncos, it sounds like, are working towards some level of an extension with Sutton, although Sean Payton said those conversations are not going to happen this week. So we've learned to say never in the NFL. There's been plenty of unexpected trades. I mean, how many times were we told the Bills aren't going to trade Stephon Diggs? He's Josh Allen's number one guy. And, well, sure enough, they traded him to the Texans. But I don't believe that's an apples-to-apples case here with Bo Nix, who is way younger in his career, whereas Allen is a much more established quarterback and can probably be just as effective with Diggs versus without Diggs, which he just won an MVP without Stephon Diggs. So he's a lot more, comfortable where he's at in his career right now as a passer, whereas Nick's very young in his career. I don't see how trading his number one guy away, coming off a 1,000-yard season and 8 touchdowns, is a recipe for success. So Steelers, sure, I could see them calling and trying to get an asking price for Sutton. Denver picks up the phone, I'd guess, listens, and then hangs up. I don't think Sutton is some untouchable player. He's 29 years old. He has 1 year left on his contract. So if the Broncos feel like, hey, we got the last bit of good football juice out of him, let's sell high right now, I wouldn't be blown away, can't understand how we got to this stage. It's not a Luka-sized shocking of a trade, or if it happens, but I just don't think that the Broncos, like I said, are going to look at this as this is what's going to make Bo Nix a better quarterback in year 2. So I'm leaning towards an extension before we actually see any type of trade happen. But let me know what would your reaction or what your thoughts would be on a Sutton trade to Pittsburgh. For me, it's a capital N for no in the comment section. But if you disagree, if you feel like this is the Bill Belichick Patriots way of you move on from a player 1 year too early rather than 1 year too late, and he's 29, he's getting up in the age column, and if Denver doesn't plan to give him an extension, getting a draft pick for him could make some level of sense, but I'd rather hold on to Sutton, and you could still get a draft pick for him if he walks in free agency in 12 months and you get a compensatory pick. So that seems like a much better play than moving on from him in a draft class that's not very deep at wide receiver. It's not a very good receiver class to begin with when it comes to quality of depth and guys you're going to find in day 2 of the draft compared to previous years in day 2. I mean, there are so many good day 2 draft picks at receiver, right? Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk was very end of round 1, but DK Metcalf, and the list goes on and on. Courtland Sutton himself. I don't think you're finding a draft class this year that has really good receivers in round 2 that you can easily replace Sutton with a younger, cheaper version. So that's kind of the latest trade buzz out there. The Broncos are going to be, involved in trade conversations. They're not a team that comes to the Combine and just stays in their room the whole time. No, they are going to St. Elmo's. They are going to all the different, local watering holes where GMs, coaches, and agents like to get together and discuss things. The Russell Wilson trade was conceived here. It was George Payton writing down on a cocktail napkin and sliding it over to John Schneider what it would cost to get Russell Wilson. So we know this is a spot where the Broncos like to be active, and I'm sure they'll look into making some types of moves or at least listening and inquiring, but I don't get the sense that they're going to be one of the most aggressive teams this offseason. If you're hoping the Broncos are going to come out of this with maybe a big wide receiver trade, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, right? I don't expect those guys to get moved to Denver. I think the Broncos are a lot more content with their receiving core, which is a younger group and not filled with household names than most people believe. I think they're excited for Troy Franklin in year 2. Marvin Mims played so well down the stretch in year 2 of his career. They've got younger players as well, or old players in Devaughn Vele, but still young in their career. So overall, don't expect any seismic additions at the receiver spot for the Broncos. Just some other NFL Combine news and notes that I've kind of gathered and learned throughout the day so far today that I want to share with you guys. Travis Hunter, for any CU fans watching, he said he is a corner and a receiver, and he's just different. He's unique, and he is. There's no doubt about that. But he also said he'll play whatever position, an organization feels best at. And teams do not have a good beat as to where Hunter's going to line up in the NFL. It seems like it's a team-by-team basis. The Tennessee Titans, who picked first overall, said he's a corner. The Cleveland Browns, who picked second overall, said he's a wide receiver. So for any CU fans watching, what's the future holding for Travis Hunter? It's a lot of unknown and not really sure which side of the football he's going to play on eventually at the next level. Another big NFL Combine story that doesn't have big implications on Denver, who don't pick until 20. Abdul Carter, some people think the number 1 player in this draft class and a potential number 1 pick for the Tennessee Titans. He's got a stress fracture in his foot. That was revealed during the medicals and is not going to do any kind of the drills here at the Combine, but it looks like he's going to be able to avoid surgery, but this could definitely throw a wrench into the top of the NFL draft order. The Titans were somewhat rumored to be targeting Carter first overall and then go after a cheaper veteran quarterback to fill the 2025 QB void. Now they might decide, well, if we're going to draft someone, they better be healthy, and we're not going to roll the dice on Carter with a foot fracture. So maybe they go with like Cam Ward, for example, out of Miami, and that kind of throws everyone else's draft strategy out of whack because the Browns might have been targeting Cam Ward, and now they got to go Shedeur Sanders, and the Raiders were targeting Shedeur Sanders, so now they have to adjust a little bit. So this is going to be a fun roller coaster of a draft, right? Last year, we pretty much knew even the first 3 to 4 picks. We all knew it was Caleb Williams 1. By late March, we knew it was Jaden Daniels 2. We had a very good idea the Patriots were going to go with Drake May, but some people like to just stir the pot and try to create a nothing burger with that. And then Marvin Harrison 4. And the draft last year really started at number 5. No one really knew exactly what the Chargers would do, Malik Neighbors or Joe Alt. This year, the draft starts at number 1. No one here seems to have a great idea of what the Titans plan to do. They've got a new GM, a new coach, so I don't think the Titans even know what they're doing. But there's a lot of fun storylines coming out of the Combine this year. It's one of my favorite events, and I'm super happy and thrilled to be covering it in person for the first time in my career. So if you enjoy our content, please scroll on down, click that subscribe button, like the video as well. That way I can get you guys the best Broncos content from the Combine all day and week long.